What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and today we are here with the Treasure Map Sugo-Fest. Now, a lot of people were predicting, including myself, that we were going to have a Treasure Map Sugo-Fest which introduces a new legend. And that is not happening. The characters that are releasing in this batch are not legends. So that is both a good and a bad thing, because you gotta think, right? Characters that are debuting with legends, those characters are always available in every single Treasure Map Sugo-Fest, essentially moving forward. However, you have the other side of things where you have the characters that are not legends, which means that yes, it is one less legend that you don't have to invest to get. But also, the rare recruit characters, that they're never really going to return, unless if they bring him out way later on down the track in a future Sugo-Fest, or if they put him in the Sugo Medal Exchange. But again, the characters that they put in the Sugo Medal Exchange, typically, the TM units that they put in are pretty bad and aren't really that useful. So it's a bit of a weird situation, this one. So we'll go through it anyways. As for when this banner is going live, January 13th, 1900 PST is part 1. Part 2 the day after on the 14th, and then the 15th will give us part 3. And it looks to be a pretty typical TM Sugo. You get a guaranteed new character on the 3rd multi. I don't remember if that was the case when Legends debut. I can't remember exactly if that was the case, but 3 multis, and it gets you one of the 3 new characters is pretty cool. The main booster being Eneru, and actually I think Eneru is a really good unit, and I think Eneru will actually see a decent amount of play moving forward, as you know, he could be used in a lot of other future Treasure Map runs, and we'll break down why that's the case in just a moment. So as for boosted units on each of these parts, you can see Bon Clay and Jinbei are both on part 1, so that's honestly pretty good. Part 2, you've got Carrot, Wanda, and Hina, and then part 3, you've got Izo, Okiku, and Blackbeard. All of these parts look pretty good. We don't know what other legends are going to be boosted on each of the parts. We'll have to wait for the full announcement tomorrow at news time, so we'll have to wait and see. But let's go ahead and break down what these units actually do. So we have the first one here, which is the Gang. We got Gidatsu, Shura, and Satori, being a Sai Cerebral Striker. Captain ability, reducing cooldown for the crew by 1, and then boosting the attack of Quick, Sai, and Int characters by 3.5, and recovery by 1.2. Pretty basic captain. I mean, without the fact that this character is, you know, just a typical booster on a treasure map, the fact that he's a 3.5 captain is at least good. So if you get one of these boosters, you can at least use them as captains and they'll be somewhat okay. And also the fact that there's no debuting legend leads me to believe that I think the treasure map runs, like the intrusion and the final boss, in my opinion, they should be a little bit easier than normal, I would think, right? We'll have to wait and see. The special ability says that you can only use the special 2 times during the quest, so it's a pretty big drawback, and it deals 55 times his attack in typeless damage to a single target, ignoring all defensive effects and base defense, and then reduces threshold by 3, despair by 3, and then changes adjacent slots into matching. It's a pretty bad special, in all honesty. The fact that you can actually have his crewmate ability, though, which reduces his cooldown by 4 turns every time another Cerebral or Striker uses a special, that is somewhat okay. But to be honest, like, the actual, like, effect is not really that good, because you do have to use the special twice to get the most out of it. Due to that, I mean, we could definitely see a lot of really weird gimmicks in fights where instead of it being, you know, 3 or 4 turns or 5 turns of threshold, it could be 6 turns of threshold, which would make it annoying for many players out there if you don't pull these units. So that's obviously gonna kind of suck a lot. But Gidatsu, Shura, and Satori, I do like the fact that they're receiving some kind of representation, because Skypiea doesn't really get a lot of love in One Piece Treasure Cruise. So I do like the fact that they are going back for this treasure map. It is actually pretty cool. Now, one shining light with all of these units is they typically have very good supports, especially these characters that are only here for one time. You know, they're not repeat characters that will come out every single treasure map banner. Typically, they have very good supports, and they don't shy away here, so it attaches to only Eneru, so a bit of a drawback there. However, it says once per quest, if you're inflicted with despair, reduce it by 3 turns. Like, that is just so freaking good. We already know how good Quick Whitebeard is as a support to remove 3 turns of despair, and yes, he does only attach to Eneru, but the fact that Eneru is getting more supports he can get access to is good. I think that no matter way you kind of look at it, this is a good support. It's really strong. So, big fan of that one. I think that Gidatsu Shura Satori, while their special isn't very great, I think the support will definitely see a lot of play. The second booster is going to be Ohm, so this should be the second highest booster of the treasure map. Ohm being a Psi Cerebral Slasher, and his captain ability looks pretty similar to the previous character, -1 cooldown, 3.5 attack to quick Psi int, and a 1.2 health boost, pretty similar there. Now, the special ability, once again, you can only use it 2 times per quest. It does 100k damage to all enemies, which is pretty cool. He also reduces all enemies' Rainbow Shield by 3 turns, Bind by 3 turns, and adjacent slot into matching. Once again, has the crewmate ability, reduce cooldown by 4 every time a Cerebral or a Slasher uses a special, and the fact that he has a 10-turn cooldown, you use his special, and then you can have, you know, 2 or 3 other specials launch, he's good to go. So he seems interesting, but again, it's very similar to the previous character in the fact that it's an okay special. You need the double special launch in order for it to actually be good. So for those reasons, I don't really think this character is going to see a lot of play outside of the treasure map, unfortunately. However, once again, the support only attaching to Eneru, reducing the crew's bind duration by 3 turns. Whenever you're inflicted with it, only attaching to Eneru, as we said, but like that is such a powerful support. And again, you know, bringing some light to Halloween Ace, and he attaches to Luffy and Sabo, and we know how powerful a support like that is. So once again, Eneru getting access to such a strong support means that sometimes you can literally just run Enerus on the crew just because you get access to these supports that make either teams faster or make certain bosses more easier to defeat. It's just a really, really cool thing. So I do like the fact that these supports exist. It's a very powerful effect. Now, the final character we can talk about, which is the brand new Eneru. He is the highest booster of the treasure map. He's definitely the character you probably want to get for the treasure map itself. However, due to the supports of the previous 2 characters, you probably want them as well. It is what it is. But Eneru has so much going on. He's such a cool character. So, interestingly, he's a Psi Striker Cerebral, but he has a super type, and remember, he's not a legend, this is just a regular treasure map unit, but he has a super type, which is really, really intriguing. So his captain ability sets his own cooldown to max at the start of the quest, so literally any content you use him as a captain, you can just get a max special immediately. He boosts Striker and Cerebral characters' attack by 3.5. He does 56,000 damage in side damage at the end of the turn, which is also pretty cool, so a relatively good speed farming captain. And then he has his super type. Remember, you can use the super type when you use him as the captain. Now, you do need one of the characters on the crew, Ohm, Gidatsu, Shura, Satori, but also you can use Nami. So that's a pretty big buff to the unit, being able to use one of the Straw Hats. So that's obviously very good. And the effect is so cool. 300,000 fixed damage to all enemies that ignores defensive effects, base defense, and it also ignores normal attacks only and reduces all characters' cooldowns by 2 turns, and then you get Super Psi instead of regular Psi. It's a very good effect. I mean, any damage dealing effect that can go through normal attacks only, you always have to give it a look. You know, if you're inflicted with normal attacks only and there's mobs, or even in certain speed farming content, you know, you can just use it to wave clear mobs. It's just really, really cool. But there's also the other side of that, is that it also gives you -2 cooldown with the super type, so you can use it to get around special reverse. Now, I would have a feeling that special reverse is probably going to be a key component of the treasure map due to the fact that the super type special exists. We'll have to wait and see how it's all kind of planned out. Either way, though, this looks really, really exciting. I like this super type special, very unique, and I think for those reasons, he's probably a character I'd really like to get, but we'll have to wait and see. He's probably going to be very difficult to pull. Now remember, Captain ability stated that it makes his special ability max at the start of the quest, so what does that even do? So it says you can only use the special twice during the quest, but when you read what it does, you probably don't want to use it too much anyway. It sets the character's special charge time to max, so he immediately launches his special again, so that's really, really cool. Deals 100 times his attack in typeless damage to all enemies, again, just really good for speed farming. Then it will also go ahead and activate a unique additional effect for 10 turns. So when you launch the special, you'll get like a new buff. For 10 turns, you'll get a special effect to activate. And it says at the start of each battle, so that every time you move into a new stage, reduces all enemies' HP by 10%, and then applies increased damage taken to all enemies by 1.3 for 2 turns. Like, that's so cool. Every time you enter a stage, you get that for free. That's just, it's so, so valuable. And then it says becomes 1 turn at the end of the enemy turn. So I don't really understand what that's referring to, because if it's a 2-turn buff, it would go to 1 turn anyway. So that's weird. I'm not really too sure what that's in reference to. But either way, continuing on, it also does 80 times his attack in side damage to all enemies at the end of every turn. So when you launch the special, I think you'll also get like a 99 plus turn buff, where at the end of every turn, you're always doing end of turn damage. Again, very good for speed farming. And applies a paralysis to all enemies for 1 turn, and it's a 30% chance of paralysis. But it's a paralysis nonetheless, which is pretty cool. And again, you know, Nami is the only character in the game at the moment that does a conditional boost with paralysis, but this could potentially have good synergy in the future if we ever get more paralysis conditional boosters. We'll have to wait and see how that kind of plays out. But either way, it's a very useful special, it seems. Very focused around speed farming. It does have a 13 turn cooldown, which is a bit of a drawback, because it means you really have to use him as the captain in order to speed farm a lot of content with him. Nonetheless, though, with a captain ability like this, it is a 3.5 captain, also end of turn damage in the captain effect. He's pretty cool. I like the way that he's structured. Crewmate abilities, nothing too crazy, it looks like. Reduces the crew's paralysis duration by 1 turn. That is also very valuable. Not too many characters have crewmate abilities that reduce debuffs on the whole crew. So, again, another valuable component to this character. And then, interestingly enough, all the characters have shipbind for one of their potential abilities, so that is a bit bizarre. Hopefully there's no shipbind in the treasure map, because that could make things a little bit more annoying. But, once again, another very useful support coming in for Eneru, attaching to any of the characters that are required for his super type, which does include Nami. So Nami gets access to a brand new support, and it cuts the crew's HP by 20%, but reduces all enemies' HP by 5% at the end of the turn for 1 turn at the start of the final battle. Very cool effect, because you can use this to get around stun debuff, even though stun debuff isn't too common. But you can still use it to, you know, get your HP lower to reach a certain health threshold for other specials. You can also use the other component, the 5% health cut at the end of the turn for 1 turn, enables you to get around resilience debuffs on the enemy side of the field, right? So you can just use it on any Nami, and you can just get around resilience for free, which is so good. Of course, the new Legend Nami that came out during New Year's legitimately removes resilience with her special launch, but we're talking about other Namis, right? Any other Nami in the game can now use this support to essentially get around resilience, which is very, very valuable. So overall, this is Value City out here. I think Eneru is a really good treasure map character. I'm looking forward to potentially getting my hands on him. I think I'll only do 3 multis on the banner anyway, you know, just to get the new character. I think that's probably where I'll be landing. There's no real reason to go much past that. But either way, just interesting stuff. And just for some confirmation, we do know now that the confirmed treasure map boss character is going to be Wyper. He is going to be the character that we're all going to be farming for in this event. And we do know what his special does currently. So shout out to Solaris for providing the translations from the Japanese data mine. So we can see here that it removes 5 turns of slot advantageous or unfavorable slot effects, which is the same thing that the treasure map Who's Who did last month. So it's weird that they're bringing that buff back, even though there was no buff along the way that actually was needed for that. So it's kind of weird that they're bringing this back. It says that it consumes all of your attribute slots, so all your type slots, strength, dex, quick, sight, int, consumes them all, deals quick damage to a single target, and the amount of damage that he does will increase with the amount of slots that you consumed. And after dealing damage, he changes all slots into tandem slots, and then for shooter and free spirit characters, quick recovery and tandem slots are beneficial for 3 turns, so that's cool. And then it also says for 2 turns, it's going to boost the color affinity of shooter and free spirits. I think it's 2 times for 2 turns. And it also increases your orb boosts and maybe attack boost. Increases attack boost effects and slot effects enhancements for shooter and free spirit characters for 1 turn after activating the special move by plus 0.2. Okay, so you can launch this character special. You get color affinity, tandem slots, and a buffing effect. So after you use the special of Wyper, any attack or orb boost from a shooter or free spirit is buffed by 0.2. So that's pretty cool, interesting effect, but I just don't think this character is going to see a lot of play. He just doesn't have a lot of components that shooters or free spirits really need right now. I mean, there's no real component in here that really screams out as like super unique or amazing, and from all reports, apparently his captain ability isn't going to be super amazing either, so we'll have to wait and see after the character is fully in the game to get a full grasp of what he does, but he doesn't seem that exciting, unfortunately. One final thing before we wrap up this video is that when you time travel, you can actually see the characters that are boosted for the upcoming event. So K-Dad and his batch are still boosted, which is honestly surprising. 8.5 anniversary Zoro, obviously all of the New Year's characters are going to be boosted, but there is one character in particular that is very, very interestingly selected to be a boosted character, and that is this character right here, which is Legend Sugar. Now, from all reports, you guys know that whenever a character like this, like a random legend, is listed on the banner as a listed character who is boosted for the upcoming treasure map, we do know that this is going to be the next 6+. So yes, it pretty much all but confirms the next 6+ to be Legend Sugar, which I think is a very good call, because if you guys don't remember what Sugar does, her special has a really intriguing ability where she can turn characters into toy bears, and these toy bears have properties which, you know, Sugar can make the most of, turning them into 40 cost characters. Sugar as captain is focused around the cost 40 characters, but the thing about it is that it makes these toy soldiers have 2500 base attack, and the problem with that is that with the introduction of level limit break, which Sugar wasn't around for, or debuted before the introduction of level limit break, with level limit break, characters can far exceed 2500 attack. So when you use Sugar special to change them into toy soldiers, they can legitimately get weaker than their base form. So that's obviously a problem, and with the introduction of a lot of chain based effects, Sugar's toy soldiers aren't as powerful as what they once were, so I think that this is a pretty interesting selection for a super evolution. I'm very intrigued to see what they're going to do in order to buff her. I'll probably make a separate video going through a lot of different discussion points regarding Sugar and her super evolution, because there's a lot of really cool things that they can do. With all that being said, that is going to wrap it up from me today. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all of the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. I'm that, guys. I'll see you guys within the next video.